Hello and welcome to a Celtic World, YouTube channel and podcast made by Celtic fans all over the world for Celtic fans all over this great big Celtic world. From Finniston to Finland, Pollock Shields to Poland, wherever you happen to be watching from, you're part of a Celtic world. And we have contributors from, well, I suppose 3 different places today. Let's start with the least commonly viewed, Lewis, who is in Seoul. How's it going, Lewis?
Not too bad. How's it going, everyone? Good to be back.
Going very well.
Hi, Dean.
Great to have the champ back with us. Lewis is, of course, a boxer, a pugilist, fighting his corner in South Korea, where we also find Dano. How's it going, Dano?
Of course, good, man. Good. Just slid in right before broadcast time from the Guangzhou FC game where they miraculously won. Couldn't. They did not deserve to win that match. Honestly, it was unbelievable. But yeah, glad to be here as always, Gav.
And who's Stephen in Australia, who's just about to unmute himself and tell us all about his boxing record in the mean streets of Sydney, King's Cross.
Yeah, that's a bit of, I've done a bit of boxing up in King's Cross, but yeah, that's maybe another episode. Yeah, I'm doing good. Speaking about the streets of Sydney, I actually did the Sydney half marathon yesterday. So feeling a bit stiff, if you pardon the expression, and a little bit sore. So if I fall asleep during the podcast, you'll know why. Very tired.
Ah, well done. Congratulations, Stephen. You're an inspiration to us all.
Thank you.
In more ways than one. Well, let's say hello to people in the chat. Monty is there, and he's always there. God bless every last one of them. Mark Nisbet saying hello. Craig Young. Come on in, everyone. The water is lovely. What are we going to be talking about today, lads? What do you think? Can you begin to imagine?
The weather?
Yeah, it's a bit grey today. It was nicer yesterday.
It looks very grey where you are, Lewis.
Yeah, no, it's really dark. It's quite bad. But
yeah, it's a weird day, man. It is a weird day here.
Well, we're going to talk about matters around the game first. I think we should, because if you ask me, they're more interesting than the actual game itself. And then we'll move on to the game and talk through some of the incidents in it. And what did we learn? Then if we have any time afterwards, we might do a little bit of Celtic socials. Maybe we'll do a few Celtic catchphrases, say what you see if we run out of things to talk about. All right. So around the game, why don't we start with this nice subject? Take aim against the rebel scum. That is their Tifo. Now then, let's get into that, shall we?
Nice.
Shall we go to Stephen first to vent his spleen on this? Is there any spleen venting necessary, or do you just take it as it comes? It's all part of the crack.
No, I don't think it's part of the crack. I thought it was in very, very poor taste and fairly disgraceful, to be honest with you, but not unexpected from their fan base, who are just out of control now, it seems to me, without any sort of action being taken against them. They're just going from one atrocity to the next. No, it's completely out of order. The language used, the imagery used, was just absolutely bang out of order. And I noticed that their club has been quick to condemn the display, but along with the usual, we might talk about this later, missiles being thrown onto the pitch. But you'll know yourself, Gav, this is a bugbear of mine about how players, staff and fans are not safe at Ibrox. And I think now is the time that this really needs to be addressed. But just on the banner and the songs, I did a bit of digging today, and I was quite sure of myself here. But back in 2011, the SPFL produced a list of songs which they had deemed to be offensive, and there was going to be penalties if any of these songs were sung in the grounds. And one of them was the Billy Boys, and it did disappear. And that was back in 2011, before this this latest version of the Huns had spewed into existence. And prior to that, it almost died out, the Billy Boys. But now it's being sung as loudly as ever. And I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure they play it over the tannoy now at Ibrox. This is after it's been deemed an offensive and inflammatory song. So the banners, the songbook, and the missiles, it just all adds together to be a big recipe for a sectarian shithole. And I'm not really quite sure why we should be subjecting our players and fans and staff to that twice a season. It's really up to Celtic now, because the SFA have shown they're not going to do anything about it. The SPFL have shown they're not going to do anything about it. So Celtic have to grasp the nettle here and take this forward. And I don't know what it's going to take. Is it going to take us refusing to go there, refusing to play, like demanding this game is played at a neutral ground? Because if they don't, somebody's going to get badly injured. There's a bottle of Buckfast thrown onto the pitch yesterday, which could have hit the goalkeeper, and if it had done, it would have injured him really badly. So absolutely disgraceful, and they're just such a shower. It's hard to put into words.
Okay, well, let me pretend to offer the counter argument for a second, just for the sake of the debate, and we'll go over to Dano, our American pop culture guy, and we'll talk about how this was just inspired by an image of one of their heroes, a famous image of one of their heroes when he was on World Cup duty for Scotland, and they're just reflecting that. And of course, it was May the 4th, so the words are relevant to Star Wars. So what's everyone getting upset about? It's just Graham Souness and some wording lifted from Star Wars about the rebels. It's a big deal.
Just it's the usual sectarian shit from the worst club at the worst ground in the world. And yeah, the missiles getting thrown. There's got to be something done about this. This is how many games in a row now? I mean, the other thing was one of their players ran onto the pitch during the game to get the Buckfast bottle. Did anybody else notice that? I mean, what is going on here, man? I mean, the complicity of the league and the press and everything in Rangers, just completely shitty, sectarian, violent attitude that gets literally encouraged by the board. I don't care what you say or what they say, because there's 49er money involved now, or whatever's happening over there. Somebody's got to do something about this. I mean, not only the violent chanting and all that type of stuff, but man, I mean, the literal violence of throwing stuff onto the pitch is out of control. I mean, it has been for several years now. I'm not even sure how many games in a row against Celtic this has happened at Ibrox, but something's got to be done,
man. Do you echo those thoughts, Lewis? Or I mean, were you upset by the banner? Let's talk about the banner specifically. What do you see it as?
I was kind of embarrassed for them, because it's kind of a funny one where it's, if you look at the wording of the language, they've aligned themselves with the baddies in Star Wars, which is probably not a good position to be standing in, where it's like, we're the Empire guys. It's like,
they are,
That's, I mean, well, true. It's like you're not supposed to admit to that. It's a bit
right.
Sort of empty-headed, and to sort of echo the sort of their board and their sort of administration's attitude towards specifically chants. I think they have other songs that go along to the same tunes, and what they'll do is they'll play those songs on the tannoys. So it's like, although they're not explicitly playing those songs, which are banned songs, they're encouraging people to sing those songs in a way. So that's, as far as my understanding of the situation, it's like they're kind of dog whistling their fans. You'll see it with, obviously they've had orange kits, I think, for every season the past, 10 years or something. And it's like, that's clearly a dog whistle. They're not saying, it's in reference to this or whatever. It's like, but what's that in reference to? Why is this? Why has this begun? And it's the kind of dog whistle sort of sneaky thing about it that's a bit pathetic. And it's like, Graham Souness with a gun. That specific part, if they'd chose another caption, could have been, taken in stride. If it's something like, take aim on goal or something that was unoffensive, then it's like, fair enough. I like it with Star Wars, it's just hilarious because it's like you're choosing to be the bad guys. But yeah, I'm not overly offended by the imagery specifically, even if it is supposed to be violent, because it's a gun. It's more to do with like the whole thing together. The combination of referring to as rebel scum is a bit much, but at the same time, it's a bit comedic that they've aligned themselves with the baddies.
Yeah.
See, I don't believe for a second that it was anything to do with Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't believe that was even in their heads for a second. I don't believe they've even lifted the wording out of Star Wars. I think they've deliberately, picked the phrase "rebel scum." It's nothing to do with Star Wars. It was to do with the fact that they wanted to make the point they were shooting against. They were encouraging someone to shoot a Catholic, or shoot a Republican, or shoot a Fenian, or whatever it is their choice of phrase would be, or their particular the way they would particularly frame it. But I don't believe for a minute that the Union Bears or whoever's responsible for this nonsense, I've got anything to say about Star Wars or anything like that. I mean, Star Wars is like a comic book thing, isn't it? And those guys are just the lowest of the low. There's no, let's not inject any hilarity into this. Let's not inject any humour into it. It was just absolutely humourless and really, really hideous, and basically a call to violence.
Yeah.
I think you could make the argument with them that they're probably maybe using reference to Star Wars as like the out. Right, it's like they've chose that word intentionally because it's in Star Wars, because that gives them the excuse should someone come at their actions and say, right, guys, this is not acceptable. So it's just Star Wars, guys. Come on, come down. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
I could maybe see that if they had lifted an actual line out of Star Wars, but nowhere in the movie Star Wars, I believe, does it say take aim at the rebel scum. If
it's just the rebel scum. It's just the rebel scum part. You rebel scum.
Yeah, they've left two words. Yeah. Two words, rebel scum.
2 words. And that sounds like an after the fact, just kind of convenient excuse. That they're just trying to brush it over. I agree with you, Stephen. I don't think when they were formulating this, it had anything to do with that.
Okay, well, let's have a look at what the official response was. We also acknowledge that the Tifo displayed prior to kickoff crossed the line and was unacceptable. Our approach to supporter displays has always been built on trust, with the responsibility placed on groups to exercise good judgment. We will reflect on how these displays are managed and engage with supporter groups to ensure the right balance of trust, blah, blah, blah. So what they're saying is they had no idea this was going up beforehand. No official knew what was going to appear until it appeared.
An entire stand. Yeah, that's pretty believable. Right.
It's interesting, isn't it? The sort of juxtaposition between how they're treating their ultra groups and how we treat our ultras group. Now, the Green Brigade, as far as I know, I've never had anything as bad as that on their Tifo displays. Some of them have sailed a little bit close to the wind politically, but never ever any incitement to violence like that. And our club seems to be absolutely committed to going after the Green Brigade at every time possible, to the point where they weren't even allowed into the ground at the last derby match at Celtic Park. They were kettled by the police for 2 hours and not allowed to attend the game, not given access to toilets, not given a reason why they were being held. And that all the while the Union Bears were allowed into the ground. Some of them had flares at that particular game, and here we are at the next derby match, and they're displaying offensive banners. So you wonder, what Celtic's priorities are. Are the priorities the safety of players and staff and fans travelling to away grounds, or are the priorities scoring points against our own ultras group? Because I think they seem to have got this completely backwards.
I agree with you there because it's like it's our club's responsibility to protect our fans who are going to an away ground to represent our team. You know, bring support to our team, and if our team and our fans aren't safe, then it's on our board to also make sure that like the same sort of criticisms held are like, you know, it's not like a one-sided thing because it's like, yeah, with the Green Brigade effectively being curtained off last derby game, that was just embarrassing, frustrating, honestly, just quite angering. And then to see the sort of the worst of ultras' behaviour effectively being displayed in our board having nothing to say of it yet is a little bit frustrating because yeah, it's on our board to make sure our fans not only are safe and get home safe and there's no issues, but that they also feel safe to represent the club at other grounds.
Mm.
Did you see that? Slight alteration of it. That's quite good. We Barry's face. They've captured him well there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
All right. Well, I saw some fans of theirs saying, you know, there's no way we're going to, you know, be told what to do. You know, otherwise it's a slippery slope. We'll end up going down the road to like club sponsored tifos or club created tifos, like this one that you picked up on, Dana, the other day. I mean, what is the point in that?
I mean, it's just pathetic corporate whitewash Tifo, isn't it? I mean, it's just so sad. My God, man. Giant dream.
Like I think there's a line to be drawn, though, isn't there, between that and some openly offensive, you know, an encouragement to violence. And there's certain, you know, it's not, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know where that line falls. And that display yesterday definitely crossed it. But you know, you were asking how many games in a row that must be at least half a dozen games in a row. There's been an incident with missiles being thrown onto the pitch. There was one actually. I think our club doctor ended up in the hospital after getting struck by one a couple of games ago. And you would think that would be the line in the sand where they take action against it. And they should be threatening Rangers with stand closures or ground closures. And I don't think to my mind they've even been fined for any of that stuff. So unless they do that, and there doesn't seem to be any appetite within the Scottish game to take them to task, and that's the point I was making earlier. They seem to be out of control with nobody prepared to take them to task for this behaviour.
Yeah,
absolutely. One of the other highlights around the game, I think you'll agree, was reclaiming the song "Simply the Best." Yeah. So these clips on social media have the fans singing it.
Yeah, big up to Baz for get to this one. I saw this on his YouTube. It's awesome.
And there's calls for like Celtic to sing this now and make it their song and just take it off them. Are we behind that?
I don't know about that shit, man.
Singing it there at their ground is funny. Kind of rubbing it in their face, but I don't think taking it back to Parkhead would be well accepted.
No.
Well, we've took everything else off them.
True enough.
Maybe start taking their songs off them as well.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, the most decorated club in the world, or whatever it is, you know, we've surpassed their trophies. I mean, I think we need to take that title and just throw it away, like use it for like a week and then just bin it, man.
I mean, the thing with like how the board, like when we won the league, there was no fanfare around the fact that it was our 55th title. It was just 4 in a row. Yeah, I appreciate that approach where it's like, no, what's the more significant thing to our fans? It's like, no, our fans want to keep winning, and we are keeping winning. So that's what they're focusing on. You know, appealing to wind up the opponents, I think, sort of. I don't know. It's like it's playing down to their level. I don't think we need to.
Yeah.
I think we're above that.
Yeah, it's funny to do it at their place, though. I did.
I agree.
The only other thing I've got to talk about around the match before we get into it was, did you hear the audio, as somebody mentioned in the comments, kept picking up one Rangers fan who has a very keen interest in paedophilia, and he kept shouting it at the top of his voice. Even Greg Taylor was the subject of some specific accusations. Did you hear that?
No.
Yeah, I did. I heard it. Yeah, but I mean, it's part of the course, isn't it? It gets wheeled out at every opportunity by them, and it's nice to see that they're so concerned about the victims of child abuse, but not so concerned with the victims that happened at their own club. But it's it's just another example of the blatant hypocrisy that comes from them.
Simply the Best, about Tina Turner's best ever pumping. Is that what that song's about? I mean, the song that goes "Nobody Does It Better" makes me feel sad for the rest. That's definitely
that's
best
obvious,
ever pumping,
right? I don't know about simply the best being about sex. I don't think that's the case. Might be part of it. But I think it's more. She's singing.
I mean,
about,
I haven't analyzed the lyrics sufficiently.
I think it's part of the overall package, but it's not explicitly about that.
I mean, it's not even a good song. It's such a bad song to choose for your anthem,
compared to the other stuff Tina put out, man. Yeah, I mean, it was a big kind of white people pop hit when it came out. It's not that good in her discography, man.
What are Tina Turner's greatest hits then? Greatest hits, I said.
I mean, there's kind of two phases to her career. There's the Ike Tina phase back in the 60s and 70s, and then when she went solo as an older woman, like in the 80s, and those are the tunes that I kind of remember more fondly. But that's part of that era too. Simply the Best is like mid to late 80s, late on, but
not Push City Limits.
No,
that's about the only other Tina Turner I know.
That is a good tune, but yeah, I mean, she and I put out some good tunes back in their day too. But yeah,
not Bush City Limits.
Love, I remember being a big hit, and that's a better tune than that.
That Not Bush song's a big Australian anthem here. There's even a wee dance that goes with it. Like it's a bit like the Macarena, but obviously slightly different. But it gets played here at a lot of weddings and functions and stuff. So I quite like it. I quite like the song.
No, yeah, she's had some tunes, man.
Okay, I saw a comment there. Somebody said that the Huns are irrelevant, and that's actually how I was planning to start off this conversation, was to say, were we up for the game? Were you guys up for the game before it? Were you all excited? Here we go, it's a Glasgow derby. Or were you kind of meh, as people say these days? Because I was the latter. I wasn't that excited at all before this game.
I was kind of
I wasn't like excited or like see there's that sort of feeling of buzz you get for the week leading up to an important game. You're like, we need these points, but because the title had already been done, it kind of felt a bit neutralized. It was more a case of we better no lose rather than we need this. It's just like I don't want to lose to the Dame. Like that's awful, but I know I didn't feel too much like it was a case of we like this is a big game. We need to really make sure that we're top performing. It's one where it kind of felt a bit like a dead rubber. Other than the fact that it's them, that's my only sort of gripe with it.
Even that couldn't get me excited about it. I'm with McLaughlin P. This apart from the cup game, I find it very hard to get too excited at the moment.
Well, the whole season's been done and dusted basically since November. I mean, we were fairly almost certainties to win the league from November onwards. So I think it's just reflective of that and the fact that we've been so far ahead for so long now. The season just petered out. We had a really good weekend last weekend when we clinched the title, and we'll have another good a good day when we have the Flag Day party, and then we've got the cup final to look forward to. But this just felt, I know what you mean, Gav. I was pretty unexcited for it as well, and I had the feeling of just a run-of-the-mill league game against any other team, to be honest. I was keen to beat them from the point of view that we haven't beat them for a while. But it's a meaningless fixture against a sort of meaningless team.
Yeah,
that's right.
I definitely didn't feel the same. Kind of half meh. I just didn't want to lose. Basically, I mean, we dropped 2 games in a row to them, so it was like, you know what, I'll take a draw today, but I'm not dying for this game today. So, but yeah, I'm more looking forward to the cup final and all that.
Okay.
The rest of the league season right now is kind of pointless.
Well, with such a high level of enthusiasm, then let's go into the game and go through it point by point. Talk about it for the next 20 minutes.
Can't wait.
Oh boy.
Didn't start off too well. Free header in the first minute. Stephen nearly put us on our arses.
Yeah,
and you'll notice the guy just behind there is Liam Scales, who lost his man at that corner. I think Liam Scales had an absolutely awful game.
really bad.
And we might talk about that. We might talk about it later on, but I think he's sort of. We need to draw a line under Liam Scales for that reason. It's yet another game, and yet another big game where he hasn't turned up and where his errors have cost us. And that was the first instance of it, but by no means the last. He lost Balogun from that corner. I think he bumped into one of his fellow defenders trying to track Balogun's run.
Did they not?
Yeah, but no, I think it was his own player he ran into. And he gave Balogun a free header, and he should have scored. Balogun, he's got all the time in the world to direct that header properly, but he couldn't get his head over it. But it was a poor miss, really.
I agree. We do need a left centre back, better than CCV to partner him if CCV's around and fit. Of course, that's another thing we'll talk about. 7 minutes in. Oh, this is a series of events here. Doesn't look like Adam Idah is about to win possession here. Look, the ball's just come at the Diamante there on the edge of the centre circle, Lewis. But Diamante gets in, and not Diamante. Idah gets in. And there he is. He's free, 7 minutes gone. Go on. Just release him. Defender gets in somehow. Stops it, Lewis. Who was at fault there?
Oh, it's Idah's been. I think there's a couple of names. Scales is one of them. Idah's the other. And I think the third one could maybe be Greg Taylor, where it's like, based on yesterday's performance, it's like those are. If you're making players for that club look like better players, you're probably not good enough to wear a Celtic shirt. Genuinely really poor performance, I think, especially from Scales and Idah, and I think Taylor had a few howlers as well, so it's really, really hard to defend them. Yeah, genuinely, just Idah, they're totally at fault. Just there's no idea why he passed it the way he passed it. He's got all the time in the world. His touch is just horrific. I don't know what to.
Yeah, it was a bad pass. I'm going to go into bat. I'm going to go into bat a little bit for Idah here. I don't think he was that bad in the game. I think that was bad. We'll talk later on about his miss when he was 1-on-1 with the keeper, which was also bad. But I thought, in general terms, his hold-up play was really, really good. And I thought he sort of took the ball in, and when he took the ball in, it stuck. It wasn't bouncing off him. And I think on a number of occasions, he managed to bring other players round about him into the game. So I thought that aspect of his game was okay. And he did end up getting his goal. So aside from, he had a miss, but strikers miss chances. That's what they do. Kyogo missed plenty of chances as well in this fixture. He missed a couple of howlers the game earlier on the season before he left. So, strikers miss chances, and it's the fact that they're in the correct position to miss the chance which is more important. But I agree that was a very poor effort at a pass. It was a very simple pass to play in Forest. and he just got it all wrong.
Peter Situation Grant suggested that Forrest should have pulled a bit wider and given him more space to work with. Don't know if any of you heard him
they had
saying
two
that. Or was
options.
he on commentary? Was he on commentary for you guys?
No, I didn't watch it on Celtic
I was on the watch along, so no commentary there aside from our.
I was in a pub.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
That's a good suggestion though, because I mean it forces the defender to either come up and engage Idah or back off and cover Forrest. I mean, it is interesting.
His run was quite straight. Okay, let's move on. 8 minutes. Cherney's deflected shot tipped over by Sinisalo. This will give us a chance to talk about Sinisalo, Lewis. How good a game did he have?
An excellent game when you consider that's his first sort of big fixture, I think. His first real test in between the sticks for Celtic. I think he put on an excellent display. There's just a handful of times that if it was any other keeper that we've had in the past sort of 5 years would have been maybe a bit shaky. If it had been Scott Bain, I'll not mention the other one, but like if there's a few keeper names as backups that we've had that have been absolutely shocking, and Sinisalo genuinely felt like the only person that maybe could have did better is Schmeichel, which is like not an insult at all. Genuinely not an insult at all. Both are absolutely brilliant. So
yeah,
I think we're really lucky to have Sinisalo as the second option that we have, and I think if he continues to develop, he could be a really, really good keeper coming forward.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a blessing in disguise getting to see him this part of the season.
Yeah.
Any
I think we mentioned last week about how this would be a real test for him, and this would be a real benchmark about how good he actually is. But yeah, what everyone's saying is correct. He was very good, both with the ball at his feet, and he looked unfazed by the whole thing. He looked very calm through the game. I'm not too sure if he could have done better with the header that was flagged for offside eventually. Their disallowed goal. He seemed to get some hands on that, but couldn't keep it out. So maybe if you were looking for one negative, that would have been it. But the goal got ruled out anyway. But aside from that, I thought it was very steady throughout, and it's good. It's good for the future.
I love it when Stephen ends a sentence with "anyway." Makes me think of that character from Burniston. The one who always finishes every sentence with "anyway." No, we guy. Anyway, that's by the
Thanks for pointing that out. I'll try not to do it again.
Sinisalo got down pretty smartly then a couple of minutes later, chuffing McLaughlin P. Yeah, he had a good game, and he was always alert. His positioning was good, as we'll see later. Engels clatters Raskin. That seems to be one of the subjects that people are most grateful for Engels doing in the game. Dano, now, after every game, there's a debate among Celtic fans as to whether Engels is awesome or shite. And no different again today.
Yeah, he always just seems to be a lightning rod every single time he appears. I mean, it's just down to the money we spent on him. I think he's been fantastic. He's developing really well. I thought that was a super soft foul too, by the way. Raskin's just a short little rat, man. I mean, he headed it fair and square. It's not like he bowled him over or just knocked him out of the way. But yeah, Engels is just a lightning rod, man. He divides a lot of opinion, and it's simply down to the money we've spent on him. I think he's developing really, really well. He's going to be a player next year.
Well, maybe we'll come on to him later in the game, or once we've gone through the game, we'll have a bit of a closer look at him and some of the stuff on social media about that. We were talking about Sinisalo being alert to what's going on, Stephen. CCV had a bit of a heart and mouth moment with the back pass, didn't he? But he look at his position in there, and he was out in a flash. Oh no!
Yeah, I mean that's the
follow-up photograph.
That's what you're looking for from your keeper. You're looking for him to be playing in a kind of sweeper role like that, and to be joining in the play. So he was a bit short with that pass back, but thankfully he just got just enough weight on it to keep it away from the attacker.
Lewis, were we happy that this was called for offside, and correctly so?
Yeah, nah, that's one where I feel like they've got a specific like the way they're setting up their set pieces. A lot of it's like leading the run early. They've not got their timing down. But the frustrating part, I think, defensively that we need to be looking at is making sure we don't get beat by it. Because a lot of teams do play that where they'll have maybe 2 or 3 players running ahead of the ball actually leaving to sort of cause a bit of a confusion in the box. And I feel like that confusion is what gave them the space to get the shot off. Obviously, it was offside in the end, but had it not been, the fact that we were able to allow them that much space in the box was a bit frustrating. Because again, it's from set pieces, and we should be better at defending those.
And this is the one that went in, which was disallowed that you were referring to, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another one. Raskin scored with a header at Celtic Park in the last derby match. So
yeah,
I don't know. He's not a tall guy, and it's a failure in our defensive system that he's actually got a head on that. Whether he was offside or not, and yeah, it was definitely offside at that 100%. But it was only maybe half. It was only really about a yard or two in it. If he checked his run a little bit, that could have been a goal. And I don't see. It's hard to see from that footage who was picking him up, but it was a free header really, and that's not good enough. It's not good enough. It wasn't good enough when he was allowed a free header at Celtic Park, and it's not good enough there.
I see Mahesh coming in there with a comment about CCV. CCV's defending on some Rangers counters when Celtic were outnumbered was elite level. And he nearly got a goal, didn't he, from Engels' corner?
Yeah.
This is on 32 minutes. Fortunately.
Yeah.
Bullet of a header.
Yeah, I think CVV. The frustrating part of our defence is the fact that there's not 2 CVVs. I think Cameron Carter-Vickers.
There's not even one CVV.
Yeah, there isn't.
No, CCV, sorry. But yeah, no, he's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. There's a couple of times where it's like, it just felt like he totally saved us, and it's one of those ones where he's done that again and again and again over the past seasons we've had him. So I think it's.
He's deceptively fast, isn't he? Like, I don't think people realize how fast he is. He doesn't look fast, but he can motor, man. And yeah, but his backtracking is phenomenal. And we needed it yesterday because Scales was nowhere to be found. Anytime we were relying on him, it was the complete opposite. So,
as who's the snitch says, referring to one of his favorite subjects. Skills couldn't pick up a hooker on a street corner.
Oh, the snitch, man. The snitch. Oh.
But CCV was involved here in this moment. 43 minutes. CCV passes the ball right up the middle to Hatate. Returns. Passes it right up the middle to Idah. Who's clean through on goal. Must score. Stephen. Must score. He's through. Yes. What happened?
Well, he's tried to. I mean, he's tried to lift it over the keeper, and it's just came off the keeper's goalkeeper. I mean, if you're being, you could be really harsh on him and say it was a bad miss, or you could say it was a good save by the goalkeeper. But I think he's done the right thing there and try to lift it over the keeper. But I never felt. I never felt his body shape was right to score in that position. He just seemed to be. He didn't seem to be in control of the ball properly and always seemed to be stretching for it. And he's tried to lift it over him and just not lifted it high enough. So, yeah, he should score. You're 1-1 with the keeper, you should always score. But it was a bad miss. Anyway.
Definitely, I agree with McLaughlin P here. I don't know if you play phone games on your phone, football games on your phone, but there's a game called Score Hero. Which I've been playing. My son introduced me to it. It's absolutely brilliant. And when you're through on goal, I mean, it's like the real game. When you're in that position, I mean, you just slide it low to the keeper's side, either side, Keep it on the deck. That's what you don't try and chip him from there. No way.
Yeah.
And he does. He gets under it, and the keeper's making himself big, and Idah's playing into his hands there by giving it some elevation. Right, Lewis? Would you have slotted that low into the corner?
Yeah.
Good man.
Literally down the corners, or even like, I'd even give him more credit if he went through the legs, because the time it takes for the keepers are big guys, right? So the time it takes for them to get down, if you beat them to the ground, it's like it's a much harder job to save a low hit shot than it is to save one that's coming up at you. The frustrating thing that I have with Idah is his finishing is excellent if he's got the right touch, but the amount of times he gets that touch is very low. And I think that's him that lets himself down, because I think this was a case of like, he's off balance. Why is he off balance? Because the touch that he gave himself was not good enough.
Yeah, not great. Yeah. But I feel like, to his credit, I don't think Kelly knows a fucking thing about it, to be perfectly honest. I mean, didn't it hit him like upper body, like around the head or something? I mean, but yeah, it was the wrong choice by Idah. Should have slotted it low. But then again,
yeah, it was the wrong choice because it didn't go in. But if you look at the picture again, then you'll see that he's got very little. You know, there's not a lot of space between him and Idah, and he's got very little of the goal to aim at. And I think Kelly has spread himself really well. And if he's trying to slide it round the side of the goalkeeper, he really has to go to the keeper's left because he's right-footed. And you can see that Kelly's already leaning that way. So you know, he could have hit it off the keeper that way as well. I think what he's done, he's anticipated Kelly going to ground to try and make the save to stop him going round the goalkeeper, and he's thought where he goes, he's going to go to ground. I'm just going to lift it over him. But I think in this occasion, you have to just give credit to the goalkeeper. He stayed big as long as he could, and it's come off his shoulder at the end of the day.
Okay, well, so we missed that opportunity, and then the ball goes down the other end, and Dessers sticks it home without too much fuss.
Yeah.
Dano, talk to me.
I mean, not being able to stay in front of, you know, or keep up with one of the slowest players in Rangers history as far as their strikers goes is shockingly bad from Scales. I mean, he just needs to be better there. I mean, Dessers just goes completely free ahead of him, and Scales is just way behind the 8 ball, and it's easy goal.
Scales
Even
sort of
for
makes a
Dessers-
wee stab at getting the ball, doesn't he? Which almost brings him to a halt. And Dessers kept going and then slotted it home.
Yeah, he tried to get a foot in. He tried to get a foot in the ball, and I think he ended up kicking the ground. And he just did nothing. But it was a terrible piece of very terrible piece of one-on-one defending. All he has to do there is stay big and stay up and just jockey Dessers away from goal, and then make sure he's between Dessers and the goal. So that if Dessers does turn and get a shot away, it's likely to hit the defender. But he just made it easy for Dessers there. It was just a shocking piece of defending.
Well, as if spurred by Dessers' goal, Adamita then shortly into the second half, 56 minutes, the ball breaks from a Maeda attack. And you're not sure what's going to happen here. This is Idah running away from goal towards the ball and Engels coming across. And then suddenly Idah's got the ball and he scores. He takes a lovely touch and scores, Lewis, right?
That's the thing. It's like, if he gets the touch and he gets a clean shot, when he's able to get a clean shot, he's scoring it. He's really, really good at finishing, but it's the amount of times he gets that touch is frustratingly low at times. Like, because you know how good he can be and how good he should be for how much he paid. Do you know what I mean? That's where it's frustrating, because he should be doing that more consistently. What separates the best from the rest in football is just how consistently they do the things they're good at. And for Idah, it's that lack of consistency that makes it really, really frustrating.
Yeah, I know he looks like a world beater some moments and then absolutely awful the next, which is the accusation that their fans throw at Dessers. And I remember seeing somewhere like someone asking, "Is Idah our Dessers?" And I thought that's an appalling, disgusting thing to say. But then there's
But
sometimes I
he's
kind of think, oh, Jesus, the
yesterday was
similarities are a bit
his
more than
yesterday
that.
was his 19th goal of the season. Playing more often than not off the bench as a second choice striker. So I think you'll find that both Idah and Brendan Rodgers will look at Idah's performance this season and be reasonably comfortable with what he's produced. I mean, like yesterday was probably a real good snapshot into what his Celtic career's been like. He misses a sitter. He fluffs a great chance to play in Forest. But overall, he's done okay, and he's got his goal, and a vital goal it was, as it turned out. So, and it was an excellent finish and a good clean strike, and you got to give him credit for
that. The linesman was quite keen not to give it. He's a very healthy-looking, decent-looking fella there, isn't he, the linesman?
Wonder what team he supports.
Yeah, it's ripping out of him, isn't it? Absolutely ripping out of him.
I'm surprised his arm didn't,
Smells like Rangers fan for here.
fall off when he raised the flag. I mean, God, death becomes.
Yeah, it's not even. The thing is, it's not up to him to raise the flag in that situation. He should have let VAR have a look at it. He should have let the goal stand and then let VAR look at it. He'd got no business putting his flag up.
Yeah,
he was just desperate to flag something.
Yeah. It's that's a frustrating one where, like, either way, right? VAR looks at it, right? So if he lifts his flag, VAR looks at it, and then he doesn't lift his flag, VAR still has to look at it, right? So it's like the outcome will just go to VAR. But the thing there's, like, to me, that's just like, not in certain sense, but just in certain delay, right? It's like why add the pause and the because if they have the flag up immediately, obviously the Rangers crowd are gonna start cheering and cause delays and make it harder for the referee to get the decision. But it's like the goals went in. Let the VAR team make the decision. We need to hold on this, or you can proceed with the game. And it's just disrupted the flow of the game for no reason. It benefited nothing, but he's inserted himself into the game, which is just that's why people don't like VAR.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He inserted himself, as did this guy, into everyone's conscious.
Yeah.
You see this supporter,
This cat, man.
the crucifix and all, the big gold crucifix. Look at that.
I mean, that is a picture of it. That is an absolute portrait of a guy who gives not a fuck about what anybody else thinks about him.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Like, seriously, anybody got this guy's social media? I want to know this dude.
Yeah.
For real. What a character, man.
All right, and then let me see. 80 minutes. Raskin slips, and then this is the moment that they're crying about, that it should have been a penalty. When awkwardly enough, Cal Mack inserts himself into the picture and, falls into Hadji, doesn't get the ball. Absolutely nothing in it, I'm sure we're all going to say, but this is the kind of thing that, might have been given against us a few years ago, pre-VAR,
Yeah.
Don't you think?
No.
Yeah. I was a little nervous in that moment. I'm like, that's exactly the type of moment we lose this game on. But there wasn't much in it.
I've seen worse in previous, I've seen worse in years going by, but it was never a penalty. And it's it's laughable them even bringing that up. I don't think it would have taken the VAR about 15 seconds looking at that to realise it wasn't a penalty. It was nothing in it at all.
Are you in agreement there, Lewis?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. Or was your heart in your mouth?
When I looked at it, I was like, I don't know. I've seen worse decisions go against us, so it's one of those ones where I was like a little bit anxious, but ultimately, like, it shouldn't have been a penalty, and it was a correct decision to not give a penalty.
And there was another.
There was also an incident
in
there was an incident in the first half where Greg Taylor actually got pulled back in their penalty box when he was making a run. It was off the ball, and it was interesting that nothing much was made of that. But that looked to me worthy of at least a VAR review.
Yeah, and it was just barely before he got off camera. I mean, it was still in the shot. We caught it watching it on TV, and I was wondering about that myself doing the watch along. I was, what happened there? But oh well.
Okay, so you had no commentary in the watch along. Stephen was watching it on Sky or something. Lewis was in the pub.
I was watching it I watched it on BN Sports, and they had, I can't remember the guy's name. He's a Scottish commentator. It wasn't Sutton or Crocker. It was a Scottish commentator and some arsehole beside him. I'm pretty sure he's an ex-Hun player. I can't. His voice was vaguely familiar, but I can't remember his name. But he was talking absolute pish the whole game, and the commentator wasn't much better. But it's a bit of a. I was glad I wasn't listening to Ian Crocker, though, put it that way.
Did anyone make a humorous quip about this moment on the commentary you were watching, Stephen?
No, they didn't.
Well, because on Celtic TV, they referenced the chewing the fat sketch with the two football coaches.
Yeah. That's it, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Sutton must have done something similar. It was this, of course. Yeah. Remember the chewing the fat? Are you familiar with this, Lewis?
No, I'm not, unfortunately.
Oh, it's funny. It's like every time the manager does something, the assistant manager repeats his actions, you know.
Right.
And they were kidding on that this is exactly what was happening there with Billy Dodds. It was a nice light-hearted moment. Yeah, I think Sutton must have said something similar, because on Twitter, on the live Twitter feed, somebody said, did Sutton just call Billy Dodds a fat bastard or something? Low key. Anyway, let's move on with the game. 96 minutes. Yes. Oh my God, we're going to steal it after everything. Dyson Midas through. Look at that promising position.
Oh man.
Stephen, was it as promising as we thought? Could he have squared it? Should he have scored it?
Yeah, well, you look at that there. Well, it's a 3-against-2 situation there with the attacker, so clearly you should score. I think Dyson hasn't got his head up, and I think he's just had tunnel vision there to get the ball in the net. And again, it's interesting, isn't it, that Idah's been getting slaughtered for missing a 1-on-1, but that was probably just as bad. And he's tried to go round. He's tried to go round the goalkeeper, I think, and just got it all wrong. Where I think if he had lifted his head, I think it was Johnny Kenny had just ran off the defender, and if he'd rolled it into his path, he would have had an empty net. So it was a bad decision from Idah. But again, I think you maybe just have to give credit to the goalkeeper again. He's come out, made himself big, and made the right decision. But you can see there from that picture there, he could easily slide it through his legs. He's got a load of the goal to the keeper's right to aim at.
Do you not want him to chip it, Stephen?
Well, he could. I mean, he obviously he could have chipped it. He could have anticipated the keeper going to ground again. And I think in this occasion, if he had chipped it, he'd have probably scored. But he's tried to go round the goalkeeper, kind of got his body shape all wrong, and the keeper's managed to get a touch on it, and it's broke kindly for them. Rather than being fell well for us to just slot it into an empty net. But just a bad decision from Idah. But again, strikers, I keep saying it, strikers miss chances. And the fact that he's in a position to score it is the important thing.
For me, I agree with the criticism of Maeda in that opportunity there. And I think that the frustrating part with Maeda is that he does miss more opportunities than he should. But I think the difference between, ratios wise, is I think he creates a lot more opportunities than someone like Idah. Overall, I think Maeda just contributes way more in the course of a 90 minutes than Idah has. And that to me is the reason why I think Maeda's given a bit of a leniency there, especially given his goal record. He's player of the season for a reason. It's not a question. Idah, I think, however, sometimes even if in this case, no, I totally agree. I don't have a double standard with it. It's like Maeda should have done 100% better there. It kind of reminded me of in 2019 when we beat them 2-1. Odsonne Edouard was through in a similar situation and he just squared that across the Forest and the Forest scored. He could have tried it himself, but he had that. Edouard had that, sort of presence in the game to know, no, there's another, my teammate's coming, I know where I am, I know where everyone is. Head up and just passed it straight to Forest's feet. Forest took a touch and shot it and scored. And I think that's what should have happened yesterday. It should have been Maeda looked up, knew he had time, or maybe he should have heard his teammates screaming for the ball, because I think if he passed it across towards the sort of edge of the 6-yard box, there was 2 men who could have ran onto it. And there's nothing the keeper could have done about that.
I mean, there's no guarantee he would have gotten the ball to Kenny, and then there's no guarantee Kenny would have scored. It's not that obvious. The defender's in an awkward enough position there, if you ask me.
I don't agree. I think there's enough space. And if you consider these are people running at full speed at this stage, this isn't people running.
Possibly just after this, still the defender keeps going and Kenny's sort of stationary or slowed down. So there maybe is enough space. Anyway, it didn't happen. It was 1-1.
Oh, killer.
What to do.
That was
it.
That one was a killer. Although it was weird because a lot of the people in the watch along are ahead of me and what I'm watching on screen. So by all the drama for me was taken out of it. They're like, full time. people in the chat. And then but it was still heartbreaking to see in the end. I was still watching it. Ugh.
No.
All right. So what else do we want to talk about? Do we want to talk about individual performances? Well, there was something else I wanted to talk about, which was this conversation that I saw about Arnie Engels. Only me that thought Engels played a good game, says Ryan. And then there's every opinion under the sun below that about Engels, ranging from he's absolute dog meat and a waste of money to he's the best player in the world. It'd be nice if he would if he could just put in a run of games where there would be no argument. That would be helpful. If he could actually play obviously very well for a sustained period.
It's not the nature of the beast, man.
For me, if you're a non-Celtic fan asking me, he's the best player ever. He's the best player who's ever put on a pair of boots. Best ever. But if you're a Celtic fan asking me, I agree. It's one where he needs a bit of consistency. He needs a run of play where he's able to kind of silence the haters. But Maka, the leeway I will give him, he is still really young. He's a young player in a squad that's generally quite a tight ship. It's quite hard to break into that midfield. So maybe he's taking risks that a more experienced player wouldn't. That's kind of my sort of line of thinking. He's maybe trying to stand out a bit more because it is such a solid unit that we have in the midfield that it's like, right, maybe he's trying to do something a bit extra to try and, stand out a bit more. But I think generally he's a good player generally.
Yeah.
So I think he played quite well. I think he played quite well, Engels, and I think he just needs to be a bit more involved in an attacking sense. He definitely needs to improve the amount of goals he scored. I think he scored 2 goals all season from open play, and the rest have been penalties. And that's not to denigrate a good penalty taker, and he is a good penalty taker. But he needs to score more goals from open play. He needs to be in the box more, and he needs to be trying more in the way of shots. I think he was quite tidy and efficient yesterday. He retained possession quite well. He took up a lot of good spaces, and I thought he played quite well without really affecting the game in any great fashion. So I think that's what he needs to work on over the summer. And if he can improve those things, then he will definitely be a top-class player for us.
You do see a lot of people saying that it's criminal that Bernardo's getting so little game time compared to Engels.
I agree with that. Or just
Henrik
in general, how
McLaughlin.
little time Bernardo's getting on the pitch. He needs to get more playing time.
I agree that he should have more time, because I think with Bernardo, I think he can be a bit hot or cold. Sometimes you get him when he's just blazing, lightning rod, and sometimes you get him when he's a bit kind of neutered. It feels like he's not quite as effective, and I think that's a situation you can use a substitute. It's like, see how he's getting on, let him, get into the game, and if he isn't getting into the game, then you can take him off. Like, having that diversity is part of what makes us a strong squad. But I think he's a player that really benefits from having the time to get into the game, and then when he can get into the game, sometimes he can just totally take over.
Yeah.
Well, somebody who has taken over the league this season is the Player of the Year, Dyson Idah. You'll see this.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Celtic's goal of the season was Cameron Carter-Vickers, of all people, for that pile driver recently.
Mm-hmm.
He must be pretty sad scoring like loads of goals all season, and then a defender hits one lucky punt.
I know, man. I know. It's gotta be infuriating if you're a striker or somebody scoring goals regularly. But
that's the thing, though. Like, if you're someone like Maeda, I don't think Maeda scores any worldies in particular. I think it's just the consistently being in the right position and poaching every goal. So I don't think he could complain. Yeah, no, I think I'm not really sure how many goals could probably compete with it. I think Cameron Carter-Vickers is probably the best one, so I'm not offended by it.
it's awesome for CCV.
It's all about next year, isn't it, for Engels?
Yeah.
And a couple of other players in our midst, I think it's fair to say. Any other chat then before we wrap it up? CCV, or CVV as you call him, Lewis, he's out for a while, isn't he? He's like injured for how long? I mean, he's having an operation, is he? Is that happening?
I think he's out for the season. I think it got announced today, but I mean, what little of it's left.
Yeah, and we've got
that's a problem.
Jota's away forever as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Jota's away well into next year.
Yeah.
So
Brutal.
yeah, I'm getting big.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating if Cameron Carter-Vickers is out for the cup final, then it's a case of right, who do we play in that back line? Because I'm not so confident or happy saying Liam Scales in any circumstance. I think that's the kind of thing that gets me a bit nervous, but I think it should still be a good game. I think we should be we've won it more than anybody for a reason.
Is there possibly a silver lining that CCV is injured, Stephen? Might put off any would-be suitors over the summer?
Yeah, like I don't think there's a realistic chance of Cameron Carter-Vickers leaving Celtic. I think he's one of these guys that I don't think there's any of the top teams in England would be interested in him. I think his lack of height would rule him out of playing for most of the top sides. He's just a little bit shorter than most of the centre halves, and I think that the profiling would just cut him out straight away. So I think if he was going to play in the EPL, it would be one of the lower end EPL clubs, if anything, but more likely a higher end Championship club, or possibly the MLS. Might be a destination for him as well. But I don't think I think he'll be on good money at Celtic, and I don't think he'll be leaving anyway. I haven't heard that today. That's the first I'm hearing about this, that he's out for the season, and that if that's the case, then that's a blow for us, particularly with the cup final coming up, because we do it. He is our best defender by a country mile.
Well, there seems to be some dispute there.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything official from the club,
right?
But I don't know. I mean, if he has an operation, and then I mean, how many weeks away is it? Like
3.
Well, David says it's just an injection.
But how minor or major the operation is, but yeah, I mean,
if it's just an injection, if it's just an injection, a cortisone injection, usually they cause a bit of inflammation for about like a week and a half, and then it starts to get better. So that could be one of those ones. Could be all right.
Yeah.
As long as it's nothing that's majorly surgical, then it should be. If it's just like if it is a cortisone injection, then it should be good to go.
Yeah.
Good to go. Well, are we good to go, lads? Do you think we've covered all the ground necessary, Stephen? Anything else? Any other burning issues you want to bring up?
Well, not really. We might have touched on how sad it was to see Jota being out for so long. That's a real blow for both him and the team, and it's a really bad one. I'm assuming it's an ACL, a knee reconstruction he's having, and that's going to have him out for that length of time. So, there's question marks about how he'll come back from that. There's many players have had that surgery and not came back the same player, especially wingers. So that's a real blow for us, and it probably shifts the focus a little bit of what's required in the summer transfer window. I think we've gone from singing another winger being nice to have to being now an absolute necessity. So that's changed things a little bit.
Yeah, 100%
Certainly
agree.
has.
Yeah.
Well, Rodgers is saying he's definitely going to be in the market anyway for attacking options and goals and all the rest of it, which means we're going to have to listen to that flipping name Kvist going all summer again and end up not signing him.
Yeah. Here it comes. Third summer in a row now.
Strangelove the doctor, and he's a doctor. He did his ACL, and it's sore as hell, and took ages to recover. He says using very technical medical terms there.
Yeah, that's very precise.
Only a doctor would. It took ages to recover. It's going to take ages to recover, mate.
Your ACL is messed up.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've heard, it's about 9 months.
It's going to feel like a maternity. All right. Everyone in the comments, thank you very much, as always, for your crack. Wouldn't be the same show without you. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. I keep trying to work out how to make it, Dano, so that only subscribers can comment, because then that encourages people to make sure they've subscribed.
Oh,
but I haven't worked out how to do that yet. There must be a setting somewhere.
There's a setting in YouTube. I forget exactly where. We can work on it, though.
All right. There's everyone saying farewell. That's nice, isn't it? Look at all the love we're getting. I didn't have time to show you, Lewis, your boxing. We'll have to leave that till next time. It's always nice to see you in the ring. Giving it Laldi.
Yeah.
Giat Laldi.
Yeah. I was wondering, seeing you guys, you guys making contact with each other on Instagram. I love the BOXEO, Lewis. It's very good. Luis Baxo. Luis Baxo입니다. Yeah.
And there's videos of him speaking Korean, which is excellent. Really impressive.
Very cool.
Have you seen those? Yeah. I'm going to play those. But we'll have to do that another time because we're running way over. Okay. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, everyone in the studio. We'll see you all next time. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.